Welcome to Inspirations TV, where our intention is not only to inspire you, but to offer you helpful tools and resources of valuable information to assist you in living a fulfilling life in all areas. Today's guest is Lefty Williams, who came from very humble beginnings and what some might even consider to be insurmountable odds, to becoming a Harlem Globetrotter, traveling to over 25 different countries, and eventually becoming a husband and father to three amazing children. He has such an inspiring story, going from being a kid born in Jersey City, New Jersey, who started out actually being bad at basketball to becoming an extraordinary American basketball player who would eventually become the first ever left-handed showman in Harlem Globetrotter history. This man's mindset is nothing short of incredible. In 2008, Lefty and his lovely wife of over 10 years, Shyneefa Williams, launched the Dare2Dream Campaign in an effort to provide local youth with life-changing experiences that would broaden their perspectives of what the world has to offer. Lefty is also the co-founder of his entertainment team, the Harlem Dreams. In this next chapter of his life, as he continues to be a motivational speaker, is also a huge advocate of mental health awareness, and is also building two schools to continue to inspire children to dare to dream big and much, much more. All right, and thank you. Welcome to the show, Lefty Williams. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely. So we've just heard your bio, and you just have such an amazing story that's really inspiring to so many people. And I think it's always just so important for people to know that just because you come from, maybe from humble beginnings, and just because you don't have everything handed to you right away, I think that overcoming adversity is one of the most inspiring stories. So why not you tell us a little bit about like how your home life started and how things really seem to start out for you growing up.
Oh, well, great. Well, thank you again, for having me on. It started for me in Jersey City, New Jersey. I come from nothing, come from the bottom of the bottom, come from the mud, and just having a mindset to want more. I was born to my mom Rita, my father Harold, and I have 5 sisters. I have 2 brothers. I have a baby brother, and I have an older brother who's really like my baby brother. He calls me Big Bro.
Okay.
Growing up in Jersey City, you have choices to make. I learned at an early age that there are choices that you have to make in life, right? To either survive, or not, to get good grades in school, or to not, to this or to that. I learned at an early age, and I was forced to because of the things that I've been through in my life. As a kid, what I will say is that there was a point in time in my life where I didn't realize that we were poor, because the people in my community all came from the same place.
Right.
So you don't know what it looks like until you're surrounded with someone else who has more than you. Oh, you don't have the new such and such, or you don't have then you realize, oh, there is a difference.
Yeah.
Then I began to realize just how poor we were, because the different things that would happen from a standpoint of being padlocked out the house, or just different things. Then you begin to see things. So I don't know how much more you want me to go into, but I was mentally, physically abused by the hands of my father.
Right.
He'd been through a lot in his life. My dad, he dealt with losing his father at a young age. My grandfather died when my dad was 16. My dad had to become the big man in the house, right?
Got it.
So he dropped out of school in the 11th grade. He ended up joining the Army.
Oh, wow.
My dad was an alcoholic. He abused drugs. His drug of choice was heroin. And then from there, I suffered at the hands of it. Well, we all did, not just me, my brother and sisters, but I was the scapegoat, maybe because I look more like my mom. I don't know, I don't know what those issues were, but I knew at an early age, even though I was living a nightmare, that I could try my hardest to dare to dream. And so I've always been trying to dream, envisioning, and I'd see planes flying over, our building, and had never been on a plane, right?
Wow.
Or you can see things about a train going by and had never been on a train, not a subway or a PATH train. I had been on that, but a getaway, a vacation, talking about, dreaming. And I used to dream those things. I used to write things down. I used to write little plays for myself, like I used to do a lot of writing, used to do some drawing, just a lot of things. But what stuck to me was basketball. I was a terrible basketball player. I took it was terrible. It was a true story. So I took a milk crate, flipped it over, hammered it out, and there it was. There was my basketball hoop, because we couldn't afford a hoop, And
Wow.
Thank God for the burned down shack that was behind my building, because there I went and had nails. Only thing I had to do was go upstairs and get a hammer. There was my wood, so there's my backboard, and then there's my own court. So I've always been creative in that sense. And then you have to deal with people being, bullies, or being, harsh to you, because they're you're outside with no name brand shoes or holes in your shoes, or you're outside with dress shoes because you just want to hoop, you want to play. But I had a vision, you know what I mean? And I just was determined to try my hardest to be as successful as I, possibly could with the resources that I had. And so while living a nightmare, I've always been able to dare to dream.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's so touching, because I think it's so easy for people to make, not make excuses per se, but to just kind of feel hopeless, to feel like that's just what life has handed them and they just have to accept it. And I really appreciate it that you went beyond surviving and you went on to just thriving. So, I really love that you mentioned, your dad. I mean, you definitely had a really big array of kind of experiences growing up, because I believe your mom, you said, was, that I read that your mom was very active in the church, right? And then you have
right, yeah. So my mom was she was an evangelist. She had me in the choir. I like to say I went to church 8 days a week.
Oh my gosh! Right,
and twice on Sunday. She kept me in the church. So I've always had a sense of hope. But at that age, it wasn't faith; it was religion, right? For me, I'm speaking. I'm saying for me.
Sure.
And then when I turned 19, I began to embrace, who God was in my life for me, and actually say, no, there's a purpose for you. There's purpose for you here on earth. There's a purpose why you're living, why you're in this moment, in this present moment. Here's what we're doing. And then I started to shape and mold those things. But my mom definitely, definitely kept me. She kept me out the street. She did what she knew, right?
Right.
She did what she knew, and it worked. I've never been, thankfully, gracefully God, I've never been arrested for, I've never, given my mom any problems, so, I mean, it worked.
That's amazing. Yeah. How would you say that, those vastly different experiences, like, dad who's alcoholic and heroin addict and mom who's in the church, how would you say that you were able to kind of like what showed up for you in your life in terms of learning from those experiences that made you a better husband and a better father?
Definitely have to, you have to think twice. And I like the saying, measure twice and cut once.
Yes.
To try to be like very certain of what's going on, and then even in those things, you make mistakes, right?
Right.
One of the things that I've been, that I don't want to use the word hate, but one of the things that I've strongly disliked from my parents was there was never any, hey, well, I'm wrong. It was never, they were wrong. It was, I'm wrong, but not them, right?
Oh yeah.
So as a parent, I'm very transparent, with our children. And if I make a mistake, I own it, right?
Yes.
And so we've been taking a page out of Will Smith's book, which is we LUV, love. We listen, understand, and then validate.
Yes.
And validate. So we operate in that in our house, and we have Williams standards, and we read off them mostly every day.
Wow.
You know what I mean? What it is, from, I will recognize that, I will recognize that my family is all that I have. I'm going to basically love them. I'm not going to love them more than I would any other friend. It's all the way down to something as simple as I'll keep my hands to myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
We'll honor each other and give each other understand that everyone needs a little bit of me time to give them that time to themselves. It's so many different things that we have within our Williams standards that draw us closer together. One of our other ones, which I value, is that I will make a strong commitment to prayer life. And so it's another one that we have, right? And so what I do is I get them to recite them, and so they can understand where we're headed. You know what I mean? And so we just, we're a vision oriented family. All of my children are in the entertainment business, which is a whole nother thing.
Whole other layer,
a whole nother. But I'm appreciative of the journey that I was able to go on, because I was able to make things a lot more smoother for our children to follow, which I think that everybody should want, right? I tell them all the time, what was once my ceiling is now their floor.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that, because I feel like so many people deal with that. I thought that it was something mainly in the Black community that we dealt with, in terms of, parents just kind of like, do as I say, not as I do, because I said so, when they do something wrong, just not really having that transparency. And it's just it's like another example of growth mindset, which obviously like you're very much into, in terms of, one, like not settling, being happy and grateful for what you have, but also just like not settling. So I think that's such a powerful message for people to really, I just want to like reiterate that throughout the course of this episode, just so that people really understand that, that responsibility, being wrong is okay, so long as you actually take accountability for it, and you learn from it, you heal from it. That's such
and that's one of the things that I appreciated my father for, right? One of the things that I say is the mission of restoration is far more important than being right. So
I'm sorry, can you say that again? That was really good. Can you say that? I want to make sure that people really heard that.
One of the things that I say is the mission of restoration, when you're trying to restore something to its original form, which means that it never was a crack, it never was broken, right? The mission of restoration is far more important than being right. Because if you get stuck on the, you're wrong, I didn't say that, I didn't do that, I didn't, and so then you're able to kind of move forward. And so I was able to move forward like that with my dad. It took some time, but I had 7 years of a great relationship with him, and then he passed on. And then I did something that most people wouldn't dare do. I eulogized my dad. I took care of all of it. I preached his funeral. I spoke truth. I spoke my truth. I didn't hide in any of what I've been through or who he was. But, people would judge you on the part of the chapter that they decided to pick up and read about your life, right? And then chapter 3 wasn't that great to them, and so they decided to put the book down. But if they would have kept reading, chapter 5, you got it together. Chapter 7, you were soaring. You know what I mean? And then, then, oh man, I didn't know there was a sequel. I didn't know there was a whole new, and you're constantly evolving. And that's one of the things I appreciated about my dad. And I tell people about those things. He got his life together. He did get off drugs. He gave his life to Christ, and he was just trying. He was trying at the level that he could, right? My dad lived his life, last few years of his life paralyzed, and because of some of the poor choices that he had made, it was tough. But I'd like to think that he was free from a lot of the things that held him down mentally, because I think he was genuinely sorry. And I think my dad wanted to, I think my dad just wanted to us all to know, hey man, I'm sorry and I love you. And he used to tell me it all the time. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I love you. Dude, I know. I know. You know. So anybody out there who's dealing with any type of issues where you felt like you were done wrong, you might be, or you might have been done wrong. But I would urge you to, as time would permit, to try to reach out and just say, hey, I just want you to know that I love you and I'm just was thinking about you. Just leave it at that and let nature take its course. You know?
Wow. That's incredible. I think that gives people a lot of hope too, because sometimes, you know, so many people deal with addiction and, you know, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and just to realize that, you know, people, they can change, you know, it is possible. And sometimes you just have to be very, you know, patient through that process. And like, how would you say your faith like really helped you during that time? Because I know there's a lot of people watching that are from different backgrounds and cultures, but how would you say your faith really helped you through that adversity with your dad?
I had to really at first I went through stages of it, right? So I went through stages where I felt like no one loved me. I went through stages where I felt like, how could there be a God if he knows what I'm dealing with and refused to come to my rescue? I remember reading a quote, I think it was Frederick Douglass, maybe. I hope I'm not messing it up, but I remember reading a quote, something like, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for 20 years and nothing happened. And he said, and I prayed and I prayed and things didn't get better. So after I prayed, I got off my knees and actually did something about it, right? So as I got stronger in my faith, I realized that I had the power to change certain situations. So I would, if I know that a certain situation or my dad is in a different mood, like I started to be able to sense certain things. So if I heard a certain song playing in the house, I knew today would be a good day, right? Or my dad went in and he closed the door, I knew to stay out the way. It would, you know, certain things you try to adjust as much as you can, right? Because I tell people all the time, I didn't get punished, I got sentenced. I used to get sentenced, you know, 2 months, you know, a month. You know, I used to get sentenced, you know, and what I mean by that is, you know, not just punishment where you're on punishment, give me the phone, right? You know what I mean, or give me the game. I'm talking about no television, sit on your bed, do not leave unless you have to go to the bathroom or unless it's time to eat. I'm talking about, and to go through that, a kid mind can't really, you know, what do you do? So only God could keep me. Like he kept my mind, because I didn't go crazy. I didn't lose my mind. I didn't lose hope. I kept visioning. I kept dreaming. I kept seeing myself playing basketball. That was horrible. I used to shoot from back here, 2 hands. It was awful, man. It was so awful. But I met a guy who spoke a word in my life and said, hey, man, if you rebound for me, you'll play. You play defense for me, you'll play. Okay, wait. Is that all I have to do? And people were better than me, but I was getting the playing time because I was putting in the effort. I was putting in the work. I was grabbing 10, 12, 15 rebounds. I was shutting down the other person who was trying to play. I was aggressive, and I found a way to channel my anger and my disappointments and all of my hurts to get it out in a positive platform, which kept me out of jail. I could have easily been out in these streets robbing people. Why? Because I know plenty of people who have. They're from my community. I could have easily been out here trying to join gangs or get a knife or get a gun to shoot somebody, because I was around these people. I wanted more. I saw it from a higher altitude. And when you get on a plane and you fly higher, things that you once were in get smaller, but your vision gets wider and you can see the landscape broader. So I was able to see that. And once I was able to come back to the ground level, because I saw it at 35,000 feet in the air, it was possible for me to live it. Even though it was going to take a little longer, it made my climb easier. You see what I'm saying? Because I was able to see it. And I always tell my children, you got to see it before you actually see it. Because if you don't see it, when you do see it, meaning when you do have it, when you do see it, you won't even recognize it. So you got to see it. It starts with a vision, and without a vision, the people perish. And so we're grabbing these visions. The definition of vision is a series of thoughts and images that takes place involuntarily in the mind. So what is that saying? The dream giver is constantly speaking back to you. But because we are channeling our energy on certain music, on certain television shows, around certain people, it might be that guy, that girl, you can't hear the dream giver speaking back to you. It's like being in a room and being in a party and the music is so loud and you're trying to have a conversation with the person next to you. You get, what you say? Huh?
Wow. Yeah. That's a great analogy. I think I love that, because I feel like it's so easy to have all these distractions outside of you, but really just, you know, the message that you give for your children of just like kind of going like within and seeing it in your mind. Because you know, so many people say like, I'll believe it when I see it, and you're just like, no, you'll see it when you believe it, and part of that is seeing it for yourself first, like inside of yourself.
Right. It's like when you're taking, you know, it's like taking a breath. You don't see it, but you breathe. You do it. You act on it. You inhale. You exhale. Right. Let a dog start chasing us, and then we make it around the corner, and we start to slow down. You're gonna try to calm your breath down. You're gonna breathe. You're gonna try to do something about it. Right. So it's like it's the same thing. And a lot of people out there may be saying, well, Lefty, that sounds great, yada, 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 but I'm waiting on God. I'm just waiting for the opportunity. No, what does that mean? God is waiting on you. Your opportunities are waiting on you. The effect that I tell people all the time is like the waiter effect. When you come into a restaurant, you wait to be seated, you get seated, the waiter takes your order, puts your order in, but then has to go out and still take everybody else's order. The waiter is still moving. Your order is still in. It's coming, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? That waiter still comes back and says, let me check on your order. It should be out shortly. And he goes back. Some things take longer to cook, you know? And the type of dreams that I have, you know, I'm trying to open a school next year within my foundation. Like, that takes time to cook. That takes time to brew. You know what I mean? That you know, that's not ready next week.
Right. That's beautiful. Like, that leads me, because I really want to talk about these schools that you're forming, because this is really just based on kind of like your whole life's journey. Like, you may not have known, you know, 20 years ago that, oh, I want to open up schools, but tell us about these schools, because I understand it's a couple of schools, and tell us a little bit about that. And because I know you're doing that with your wife, is that correct? Okay. All right.
We started Dare2Dream as just like a campaign back in 2008. We were doing a whole bunch of school tours, Dare2Dream tours, teaching kids to just dare to dream. Under Armour took a chance on me and would give me what they call swag gear to give out to kids.
Okay.
And I would do a lot of cool tricks from my Globetrotter days, and I'd do my motivational speaking, then I'd leave them, you know, with word of encouragement and gifts.
Yeah.
And then we did that, and then in 2014, it turned into a foundation. My wife was like, man, we're doing all this, paying this stuff out of pocket. We need to just go ahead and make this a foundation. I never once thought about it, because I just was giving back. I just was, you know, I just wish someone had came to my school to talk to me and encourage me, or to guide me, to put me on track. You know, I'm self-taught. So
very much.
Yeah. And so we started doing that. It became a foundation. And then shortly after that, my wife wrote a curriculum about maybe 3 years ago that, you know, I thought was okay. And then we refined that, refined that curriculum, fine-tuned it. And then we were like, okay, well, let's see what we can do here. And so we talked about opening the school. And then one just recently, I just partnered with Walter Thurman. He played in the NFL 10 years, I believe. Played with the Eagles, played with the Seahawks, and to become one of our founders to open the Dare2Dream Academy. It's a sports and character development curriculum school to give kids an opportunity to be able to get a great education and to learn from the best. the absolute best. We're the best with what we do. You know, I played professional basketball 15 years. I know exactly, you know, what it takes to get to that next level, whether it be overseas, whether it be to get into an NBA summer league, whether it be to, you know, to try to get on the NBA radar, or whether it be to become a Globetrotter, or whether it become a Harlem Dreams member.
Yeah.
It's kids first, and we're excited. So we have hopes for one in Tallahassee, Florida. We have hopes for one in LA, by way of Pasadena, and
Okay.
we're just really grinding and trying to make the best of this I call it this time out of a pandemic, you know. And so that's pretty much what we're working on.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm excited to like see the progress of that. Do you know when you guys are hoping to be open by, or because I know I'm pretty sure everything is kind of slowed down a bit because of 2020 shenanigans with COVID and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when you guys hope to?
Well, things have slowed down.
Yeah.
Things have slowed down, but there's like a long application process. I'm hoping if not by September of 2021, maybe 2022, maybe. You know what I mean? Just to kind of be like official. Even if we have to open and do like everybody else, the social distance learning, then that's cool. But the overall goal is to actually, you know, be able to have these programs to be able to access to. Right now, we do a whole bunch of Zoom calls with different NBA players with our kids. They can hear. We had Greg Oden on. We had obviously Greg Oden was the #1 overall NBA draft pick in the 2007 NBA draft. Went to Ohio State University. We also had Horace Jenkins on. He had a heck of a climb to get to the NBA. He played with the Detroit Pistons, have a championship with Chauncey Billups and Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace as well. So we had him on sharing his story. So we do a lot of calls to keep everybody locked in and give them opportunity to understand that things are possible. You're talking to these guys who have been there, and that way they're just not just hearing it from me, because I've been there. But a lot of times when you're in the ear all the time, you become that mom or dad where it's like, oh, that's just Lefty talking. But when you know, plug them into the server, our whole mindset is based off of a 6-point thrust system: mind, body, citizenship, education, enthusiasm, and most importantly to me, accountability. Because today, not just athletes, but people, period, don't want to be held accountable for nothing. I don't care what it is. Whether it's
true.
You know what I mean? So so that's kind of where we are with that. Wow,
that's amazing. So that's a lot. You have a lot going on right now. And I know you have 3 kids too. And you, I saw that you, one of your daughters just launched her own shirt line. Is that correct?
Yeah, she launched a whole fashion brand. So she's launched a whole thing called Don't I Have a Say? We're going live with her website probably in the next few days. But she's got hats, she's got t-shirts, she's got now like these crop top hoodies with sweatpants, she's got fitted hats. And so she wanted to, you know, and you should actually have her on. I think you really enjoy talking to her.
I would love to.
Oh yeah. So we'll set that up. But she's like, Dad, do I have a say in this? Do I, you know, might be something that's going on in school, something that's going on in life, and or even and you know what's going on in the world today. And I'm like, not only do you have a say, you have a brand, and you have to speak up about that. You have to open your mouth and speak about the things that you feel passionate about, the things that drive you, that make you, you know, happy to get up in the morning. And so we started with those things. We started her with hats, you know, just little beanies to see if people would support. And people fell in love with the vision and the mission of it, which got me more excited to say, okay, hey, here's what you need to do, or here's how you tweak this, or here's how you do this. Now you need to protect this. Now we need to trademark this. Now we got to, you know, things like that. And so those are the things that, you know, just life of an entrepreneur, and just teaching them how to go get it for themselves. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that one day they can look back on it and say, man, I'm so glad my dad gave me this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's so huge, because I think it's so easy for people to kind of go the traditional route. And I'm not knocking it, and there's something for everyone out there, but the younger you are when you start to learn these principles, the more it just becomes part of you, in a way that just becomes more instinctive. And, other people, like, we kind of learned that later on in adulthood after we like leave home, because sometimes at home, me growing up, it was a tradition. You had to go to school, you had to go to college, and college is wonderful, but I didn't really know why I wanted to go to college other than my family wanted me to go to college. So, but just to have someone just like supporting, having family to support you in your dreams, I think is one of the biggest things. I think it's so huge. And I really applaud you, as a father, like, for really doing that and like passing that legacy along, to your children and to other people's children too, of just daring to dream, like dream big, and don't feel like you have to, follow this standard traditional model, but that your life is as big as your vision,
Right. And the thing is this, right? So when you've been at the bottom, like, there's, where else are you gonna go? Like,
right.
The only way left is up. So I'm not afraid to dream, because I know what it's like to live a nightmare. You gotta understand, I was mentally, physically abused by my dad. Here's the crazy part about this. My mindset, I made sense of the abuse by when I get to school. Now I'm not doing any work. I'm gonna get in trouble anyway. So now, to me, in my crazy mind, this is my reason for being in trouble.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So I'm getting in trouble for something that I may have not have done, but in my mind, oh no, it's because I was acting up in school today. I would act out on purpose. And a lot of kids do this. A lot of kids do this. You don't know what they're dealing with at home. You don't know their story. I remember my first grade teacher, Mrs. Binion. I will never forget, Vivian Binion, right? She told my friend Patrick, it's this white kid I was friends with in first grade. She told him, don't hang out with Harold. He's never going to be anything in life.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what that does to a 6-year-old? You know what that does to a child?
The psyche of, man.
Right. But see, luckily for me, I'm just cut from a different cloth, man. And I now know, I didn't know then, but I now know that God just had his hand on me the whole time. It became a chip on my shoulder where it's like, okay, well, I'll prove you wrong. Okay. Because you don't know how hard I'm gonna work. You don't know. I'm willing to go to the extreme to make sure that I get to where I want to be. Right. So different people took chances on me. When I got a chance to go to school, the mayor of Jersey City at the time, Brett Shumler, gave me a scholarship to help, not a full one, but like a partial, to help pay for my tuition so I can go to private school. So now you take me out of this huge school where there's a lot of violence going on, and now you putting me in new soil, right? And giving me a chance to, a new foundation to grow in a positive environment. And then each summer I'm away at basketball camp. I'm getting better, and I'm getting better. And now I'm on people's radars, and now, oh, wait a second, this kid might be something, Well, I always knew I was something. You just didn't know it. I knew it here, and I knew it here. It just hadn't caught up to my body yet.
Right.
And I just kept working. Yeah. So a lot of people say great things about me now, especially back home. And I'm like, man, I always knew that this was, because I knew my mindset. I knew what I wanted. Right. I knew what I wanted to go after. I knew the type of woman I wanted to marry. I've been married for 15 years. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I can bring to the table. I knew what she would be able to bring to the table. I knew what we could potentially create, what would be dynamic.
Yes.
And then I'm a people person. I'm a connector. Like, that's my gift. I'm a connector, and I see it ahead of time. I can start talking to a person, and I'll let them finish, but I already got it. I'm like, okay, I know where we can go with this. And then it just grows. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a whole thing of just inspiration and motivation to everyone, because I think it's so easy to just kind of get down on yourself and think and believe what people tell you, especially like between, you know, I think it's like they say between like 0 and 6 or 0 and 7 years old, you're in this brainwave state called theta, where you're so suggestible to information, which is why, you know, they tell like introduce language and all these different things to kids while they're really young, because your brains are so neuroplastic during that, you know, during that span, which they're always neuroplastic, but still like during that time, it's when they're the most moldable and you can really, you know, shape a mind. And that you really just had this, I mean, I would just say like resilience, you know, too, that it's so easy to kind of believe what people tell you about yourself, and you just really did not fall prey to that. And that's just, I think that's so important for us to really go in and just have a sense of who we are, because I understand you deal a lot like with mental health now, because I think, and that to me is huge. And I wish that we actually taught mental health in schools, like from a very early age, but we don't. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in terms of mental health and like kind of getting people, you know, one, like accountable, like to be able to like look at themselves, be able to look at, you know, the trauma that they face. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that.
Well, I partner with my business partner Alexia, and I partner with Flight Time, who's also a teammate of mine when in my Globetrotter days, and we do like mental health awareness days, pop-ups, where we're letting people know that it's important that you actually take time to spend time with your mind, you know, healthy mind, healthy body, and actually just take time for you. It might be just meditation, it might be a walk, it might be just, you know, something with arts and craft, whatever it is, just actually taking this time to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and being mentally healthy. It's been fun. It's been great. We've been getting a lot of great feedback. People have been coming to different pop-up places. We've been doing it safe and social distancing and all of those things, but just bringing it to the forefront and making people aware of the time. You know, I know there was a kid, a kid who ended up taking his own life, right, during this time, and that's not, you know, that's really deep. And I think mental health awareness is important. You know, I have a 6-year-old who his first grade experience is on a computer with a teacher, right? And so we don't know which way it's going. We don't know where it's shaping and where it's molding and where it's changing, but this is what we're doing. And I'm going to continue that with my team. I'm the co-founder of the Harlem Dreams, which is a show basketball entertainment team. And I'm going to continue that and add that into everything that we do moving forward, because firsthand I see how you know, you never know what a kid is dealing with and what's going on in their mind. People, period, but definitely children, because to piggyback off of what you were saying about, you know, that state of mind from 0 to 7, you know, at that age, 0 to 7, you know, kids only care if you like them and if you know, you love them, and they want to know that. When you get to that middle school age and that high school age, it's kind of like, well, I don't care if you like or love me. It's now, do I like and love you, right? Now get away from me. You're no longer cool. This, that, you know. And so the first one to get to them first, you know, to give them that information to impart in their life first, is usually the one that's going to be able to win them over. And I always say, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And that's the place where Dare2Dream comes in. That's the point where, you know, where we're implementing things and saying, hey, this is how we're gonna get to it. These kids call it the bag. Well, this is how we're gonna get to the bag. We're gonna have this character development. We're gonna have these sports, and then I can't promise you that everyone's gonna turn pro, but I guarantee you that if you listen to everything I'm trying to tell you, you're gonna go to school and have it paid for free.
That's amazing. I think that's so good. I think that's so inspirational. And the more people can just, you know, get, you know, help from these resources. And, you know, I'm in LA also. I'd love to come to one of the mental health awareness events, because I just feel like it's so important. I think
I think that one thing that we've learned during COVID is that, you know, we all have our stuff to deal with. And I know like a lot of people that, I mean, a lot of people have said this, you know, COVID is like such an interesting time because, you know, certain things kind of come up for you. And the thing that I realize is that COVID doesn't bring anything out of you that wasn't already in you. It just kind of was suppressed, right? Like it was just suppressed. And now you don't have all these external distractions. And now it's just like, oh, wait, that did happen. Okay, I have to deal with that now. What would you say? Because like, I know like between like COVID and like the BLM movement, George Floyd, all of this, like, you know, what's been the impact on you and like what's been kind of the message that you, you know, are wanting to make sure that your kids get out of this and that kids in general get out of this, like during this time? Because I know as, you know, a Black man in this country, it's just a very specific kind of experience. Like what would you, because I'm very solution oriented, but like what has kind of been the impact on you and what's kind of the impact that you want to pass along to your kids that you make sure that they take away from this year?
I mean, one of the things that I tell everybody is that, you know, be very mindful of your surroundings.
Yeah.
You know, cut a lot of squares out of your circle, keep your circle tight. Everybody doesn't get to know all of you. There's different levels to who you are. For instance, you know, someone saying, hey, I know Harold, they don't really know me, right? Or I know Lefty, they don't really know me, right? But if they're saying my middle name or a nickname that my family members have called me growing up, that's a total different type of, you know, I cut squares out of the circle, you know, tighten up your tribe. Everybody don't get to know all of you. Half of the people don't care about your success. And then the other half, you know, are hoping you fail. You know, they're spending telling you that you can't do it. Everyone else is saying, you know, so focus on you, focus on what you got going on. Typically, you know, really sincerely mind your own business, like tend to your business and what you have in front of you. That has a whole new meaning to me. But as a Black person in this country, you know, and a Black male, African-American male, just don't be afraid to speak up. I pick and choose on what I'm going to give information to, on what I'm going to speak on. I try not to speak on things unless I have all of the facts, and I'm not afraid to separate the pile. Meaning, you know, Scripture says, "Let the wheat and tare grow together, and on the day of harvest, I'll do the separating." Right? But for me, you can no longer stand back and stand by and not know where the people who are in your inner circle stand, where they stand on racism, where they stand on just things, period, right? And so I'll give you an example. There was one individual who said to me, I explained that, you know, she had a very, you know, lives a very privileged life. She's a Caucasian woman. She's a white woman, and her views were different from my views with what was going on with Colin Kaepernick and all of these other things. And you know, I'm not saying that I was far on one side and from the other, but I see things through a different lens. And but I did let her know that she, you know, that she has the privilege to see things differently. Right? Because she doesn't have to, it doesn't affect her bottom line. She said to me that me calling her privilege is no different from her calling me the N-word. And I said, whoa, interesting, right? I'm not sure how that is the same, but, you know, I welcome that conversation very strongly. Long story short, while I still appreciate, value, and love her, I do understand that she does not see me the way that I saw her. And so because of that, you have to position yourself differently at the table, right? And so I move differently. You know, right now, if it's not impacting our children, like if it's not rescuing the mentally abused, the physically abused, the inner city kid, or the kid who comes from money but feels like, you know, I've got some people who come from money and they feel like their parents are throwing money at the situation and think that that's all of it, but not actually addressing the issue. And so I have some of those kids who are like, man, you're the first person who actually cared what I thought. Wow. You're the first person who actually thought right. So it's different, right? And so those are the people that I try to, no, come on, let me show you something different. No, come on, this God has something better. Let me, you know, and to be honest with you, some kids get it, some kids don't. The only thing that I make sure is that I never change and that I stay consistent. Because through my consistency, they'll see and know that I really was there always, and I really was trying to help lift them up and get them to where they need to be and where they, you know, where they should be. You know, where I see it, you know. And so, but it's been rough. It's been a rough year. I've lost a lot of family members. I lost my uncle. I've lost cousins. I've lost a lot of people. But through it all, God has been faithful. I know a lot of kids I know play Fortnite, and one of the ways that I've tried to help get them through this was I took them to the soccer field. Yeah. And you know, in midfield, you have that little circle at midfield. I got everyone to get inside that circle, and I said, this pandemic is going crazy, and just like on Fortnite, there's a safe zone. You got to make it to that safe zone, right? Okay. And you have to trust and understand that just like on the soccer field, in this circle that we're all standing in, this is our safe zone. And outside of it, the storm is raging. It's raging at all levels. You know, the wind is blowing hard, but as long as we stay in the safe zone, we're going to be okay. And we'll win the storm. And so I just tell them, you know, banking on broken pieces will survive the storm. Those of you who can't swim, I know it's a shipwreck, grab on to whatever it is that you have left. That last piece of hope, that last piece of peace, that, you know, and hold on, and we're going to make it to shore. We'll get there. Those who can swim, keep on swimming. This is the time to, this is not the time to tread water. Get to swimming. We got to get to shore. Those who can't, grab on to something and get to kicking. Hold on tight, you know, but we're going to make it to shore because we dare to dream. And this is our platform that we get to create, that we get to paint. And since it's our canvas, it's success. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be successful.
Right. That's amazing. I love that. Before I ask my last question, where can everyone find you online?
I'm really big on Twitter.
Okay.
And I just got on Instagram not too long ago, but I'm really big on Twitter. My Twitter and my Instagram and my Facebook is Lefty Williams 42. So you can catch up with me on there. My Twitter page is verified. Maybe sooner than later the Instagram will be as well. But that's me. That's really me, and you can tell. And then my foundation's Twitter page is HLW Dare 2 the word dream. So Harold Lefty Williams Dare to Dream. And if you guys want to support the foundation, we would truly appreciate it. It's go to Dare 2 the word dream. .xyz. It's not a joke. It's a real domain. There's .coms. There's a new wave going on called .xyz. Okay. Pretty cool. So it's Dare2Dream .xyz, and then go over to Dream Partners, and then any donation. There's no donation too little. We appreciate. I'll take a line out of Coming to America. We appreciate the money that jingles, but we rather have the money that folds.
Folds, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, so for my last question, what keeps you inspired?
Knowing that there's more to do, and seeing my children and seeing my family grow, watching my wife continue to create a ceiling for her, meet the ceiling, and then exceed it, and then it's a new floor. Those are the things that keep me passionate. Just trying to create a legacy and create something different. No disrespect to my parents, but nothing was left for me. There's no trust fund. There's no. And so trying to create different things. You know, my son's a Disney star. My daughter is behind the scenes. My younger son, I just looked the other day on Facebook. He's got like 12 million views.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my oldest son's got like 20 million views on YouTube. So it's like looking at the way that they're moving is different from how I had to move.
Yes.
And so I'm inspired by them. What inspires me is I finally understand that it's okay for me to look back at my career and start to appreciate it. I didn't do a lot of looking back because when you're driving forward, you don't have time to look in the rearview mirror. But the competitive part of my career is over. So now all of what I do is all purely entertainment. So it's okay for me to look back and take a little peek. Yeah, you weren't that bad, things like that. And so all of those things drive me because I'm nowhere near where I want to be. And if everyone starts to talk about my basketball career, then I've done nothing because I'm so much more than that.
Right.
I'm so much more than that. I'm a singer. I'm a great writer. I act when I want to. I was on Family Business on BET. Just got picked up for season 3. Yeah. So I mean, I'm a producer. I pitch shows and sell shows. It's so many. It's like I wear so many different hats depending on the day. And I'm just trying to build, and that inspires me. That gets me like, okay, I need to get up. I need to be running. I need to be going towards something. And then I get to have a conversation with you, and so that's good.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. I'm so glad I know you have like such a crazy hectic schedule, and so you being married and having a few kids running around and, it being COVID and everything else you have going on and building your schools. I really appreciate you taking the time out to come online with me and me get to share you with my audience, with my community, and for you to be able to share this with your community as well. It's been an honor and a pleasure. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, make sure you check out Lefty's social media pages. Make sure you just stay in the loop on everything that he's got going on. And just remember, you guys, like, no matter where you come from, I mean, like the bottom of the bottom, like Jersey City, very humble beginnings to being able to travel to like 25 different countries, not even being good at basketball, but being able to excel and to thrive and to really use that as a way to like parlay into all of these other ventures of giving back to the community. Just know, you guys, that everything is possible for you. And stay tuned, and until next time, stay inspired.
See you later. Dare to dream.
Dare to dream.